Canada, the boss back. The boss is back. Vancouver, we finna shut this down.
Flex his camp, and he might need to go get the Dream Chasers or the 305.
So last night was wild. Rick Ross and his crew got ambushed by some OVO goons in Vancouver. Ross had told his fans he was gonna show up in Vancouver, but things took a turn for the worse. The whole scene got chaotic, and Ross had to make an early exit because his crew was getting seriously outnumbered, and some of them were getting hands and feet put on them. It turns out the reason for the ambush was all because of Ross's choice in music. He ended his set by playing Kendrick Lamar's Drake diss track, Not Like Us, which stirred up some drama since Drake and Kendrick have an ongoing beef. Everyone knows Drake has been pretty desperate about his brand lately, and a lot of folks have been siding with Kendrick. Ross, who's had his own beef with Drake, even released his own diss track towards him, though it didn't make much of a splash. So it's got people questioning why Ross would go to Canada, where Drake is practically worshipped, and pull a stunt like that. It was obvious people would come out to show their loyalty to Drake, and Ross didn't seem ready for any of it. There's no concrete evidence that these attackers were directly associated with Drake, but that's the word on the street. Now, this attack on Ross isn't funny at all. It could have ended much worse. One of Ross's entourage was reportedly left unconscious, which shows how serious it got. But Ross is no stranger to these kinds of situations. He's had many feuds that could have led to something like this. Remember when he almost lost his life because of his beef with the gangster Disciples?
A drive-by shooting on Las Olas, a gunman, police say, aiming at rapper Rick Ross. The 911 calls just released.
Oh my God, they're turning around and coming back. Okay, I'm hanging up. I'm hanging up, bye.
So you can bet this latest attack made his enemy's day. For instance, 50 Cent couldn't resist poking fun. He reposted the footage of Ross making a quick exit from the scuffle on Instagram with the caption, LMAO the Great Escape. Mika called the chasers, they are chasing me. But he didn't stop there. In a video he uploaded later, he sarcastically expressed his concern for Ross. Hey guys, I just saw a very unfortunate situation that took place in Canada, and I want to say to everyone that I hope that brother made it home safely, he said, barely containing his smirk. I hope that he now has a different perspective and a better sense of what to do and what not to do while you're out in the world.
Very unfortunate situation that took place in Canada, and I want to say to everyone, you know, that I hope that brother made it home safely.
Holding up his fists, he continued. That part where that young guy went like, he did this little move and got knocked the out. That does not reflect him. That reflects his camp.
Yeah, that does not reflect him. That reflects his camp. And he might need to go get the Dream Chasers or the 305.
For years, 50 Cent and Rick Ross have been at each other's throats, and it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. Their beef, which started over a petty misunderstanding or a wrong look, has turned into a long-standing feud filled with psychological warfare and public taunts. Their beef has always been pretty murky, but most people say it started at a BET event in the late 2000s. Apparently, 50 Cent gave Rick Ross this ice-cold stare, and that set everything off. Ross fired the first musical shot in 2009 with his track Mafia Music, where he took a dig at 50 by rapping, I love to pay your bills, can't wait to pay your rent, Curtis Jackson baby mama, I ain't asking for a cent.
Pay your bills, can't wait to pay your rent, Curtis Jackson baby mama, I ain't asking for a cent.
It was a bold move, and 50, being the unapologetic and brutal guy he is, hit back with equal force. He's never been one to hold back, always saying names and daring his opponents to respond. In his first video addressing the beef, he didn't mince words, saying, so I'm deciding to F your life up, Rick Ross. I'm gonna F your life up for fun. This is not new. I do this all the time.
I'm deciding to F your life up. Rick Ross, I'm gonna F your life up. For fun.
50 Cent's relentless style made it seem like Ross was in for a tough battle. In retaliation, 50 released Officer Ricky, Go Ahead Try Me, where he called Ross a fat F. But he didn't stop there. he leaked an alleged S-tape involving Ross's baby mama, Lastonia Leviston, which added even more fuel to the fire. This move was a low blow and stirred up even more drama between them. Fast forward to 2018, Ross was hospitalized after being found unresponsive, and 50 couldn't resist mocking his condition on Instagram. He's always been one to kick someone when they're down. This year, the feud reignited with 50 Cent taking shots at the low album sales for Ross and Meek Mill's joint LP, Too Good to Be True. He couldn't resist pointing out their lackluster numbers, fueling the beef even more.
When you sell 31,000 and 9 CDs, I shouldn't talk to you.
Their ongoing battle is driven by pride, ego, and a constant desire to prove who's on top. Now, with this recent attack in Canada, it's clear the beef is still going strong. And then there's also the beef with Birdman. While it seemed like everyone was turning against Drake, Birdman was one of the few who publicly stood by him. Birdman shared an Instagram post saying, "Drake, I'm riding with you for life. I got your back." But this didn't sit well with Rick Ross. Ross posted a video from a boat in Miami, playing a Cash Money song, and pointed to an area in the distance, saying that's where Birdman's house was. This was probably a jab at the fact that the property had been repossessed in 2018 after Birdman allegedly stopped making payments on it.
Hey, that's where Birdman house was at, right over there. Stunner. That's where your house was at right there.
It's wild to think, but Rick Ross and Birdman were actually friends once. They even collaborated on a joint mixtape called The H that dropped in 2013 but was recorded way back in 2008. This shows just how long their relationship had been going on. However, things began to sour around the time when Birdman's Cash Money star Drake started feuding with Rick Ross's MMG star Meek Mill. Despite having previously worked with Drake, Ross released a song called Color Money, where he took shots at Drake with lines like, "So run Forrest, got some shooters and they dying too. I got more money than that P that you're signed to." A couple of days later, Ross confirmed on The Breakfast Club that those lines were indeed aimed at Drake, implying that Birdman was the he referred to. Initially, there was some speculation that the lyric might have been directed at Lil Wayne or Jay Prince, but Ross debunked those theories and pointed the finger squarely at Birdman. The catalyst for this appeared to be Birdman's alleged mistreatment of Lil Wayne and the mess surrounding the delayed release of Wayne's Tha Carter Vibe album. Ross explained, "Right now, really me just seeing what Wayne going through as an artist, me idolizing Birdman at a time, me looking up to Lil Wayne. That's something I took personal. For me to see the way things are transpiring, I can't respect that, and I don't respect that."
And I just don't respect it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if, I just felt it was time for somebody to let homie know that, that ain't gangsta. And, you won't be respected no longer, you know what I'm saying? I won't let nobody respect you around me.
During the interview, Charlemagne all but asked if Birdman was in question, and Ross insinuated it should have been obvious. Color Money was one of the first shots, and Ross kept up his campaign by throwing some shade on Snapchat, mocking Birdman and Lil Wayne's potential reunion. It wasn't long before Birdman was asked about the simmering beef with Ross. After the infamous "put some respect on my name" incident, Birdman returned to Hot 97 for a more insightful interview. There, he addressed Ross's comments and admitted he didn't understand why Ross had a problem with him in the first place. "I don't take Ross or Trick Daddy as an enemy to me," Birdman told Ebro and Laura Styles. "Me and Ross was like brothers, every day hanging together. I don't know what his call was, to even get into me and my son business. That's my son. That shit can work itself out. I have the utmost respect for Ross. I taught him a lot of game in the He watched my pimpin'."
I really don't know. Man, Ross was like brothers every day hanging together. They one of the reasons we came to Miami, because embraced us so strong when we came out here. I don't know what his call was. You understand me? To even get into me and my son business. That's my son. So whatever business me and him have, that's my son. That gonna work itself out.
As fans watched a father and son drift apart, Rick Ross was biding his time, writing the scathing epic of betrayal, "Idols Become Rivals." The track, which leaked ahead of time, was released on Ross's Rather You Than Me album and put all of Ross's complicated feelings toward Birdman out in the open. For nearly 6 minutes, Ross penned a lyrical Greek tragedy, chronicling the rise and fall of his respect for Birdman. Birdman did issue a response to "Idols Become Rivals," which was as close to a brush-off as they come. "I don't get caught up in man. I just keep doing what I'm doing and keep pushing. I don't get caught up in that. I don't play like that. I'm a man and I stand my ground and do my thing. Numbers don't lie, and that's all I give AF about. Numbers and putting them up. Another infamous feud in the rap world involves Rick Ross and the Chicago-based gangster Disciples. This beef was no joke. The GDs didn't just make threats. They posted death threats against Ross on YouTube, making it very clear they were serious. Things escalated to the point where a hit squad even opened fire on Ross in South Florida. So what exactly did Ross do to get on their bad side? It all goes back to Ross's hit song BMF, where he raps, "I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, whipping work, hallelujah." This line didn't sit well with Kevin Clayton, aka OGKK, a local gangster with deep industry connections. OGKK was the go-to guy for rappers visiting Atlanta and one of the chief enforcers of the hate committee of the GD. He felt disrespected by Ross's lyrics, believing it was inappropriate for Ross to use the name of GD founder Larry Hoover without permission from the gangster Disciples.
I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, whipping work.
KK reacted harshly to Rick Ross. On October 29, 2012, he released a video on YouTube threatening Ross and declaring him banned from Georgia.
Public service announcement right here, straight to the point. This straight at Rick Ross, the whole Maybach music, real talk. Yeah. Hey Rick, straight up, you know what you did first time we gave you a pass on the Larry Hoover Big Meech song. You were supposed to took care of some business you didn't take care of. You know who you need to tune in right here. Man, we up on you, we pressing up on you, the whole Maybach. Music. Don't matter who in music. Everybody on your label is in trouble.
The video from KK went absolutely viral in the hip-hop world, and Rick Ross had no choice but to respond. At that time, Ross happened to be on tour for his new album, God Forgives I Don't. MMG, Maybach Music Group, was dominating the rap scene, with Meek Mill emerging as a star, Wale becoming a top artist, and French Montana dropping back-to-back hits. This was a massive tour, selling out stadiums across the country. Coincidentally, just weeks after KK's video, Rick Ross announced the rest of the MMG tour was canceled. This included tour dates in North Carolina, where the local GDs released a video similar to KK's. As soon as the news broke, everyone assumed Ross was terrified of the GDs, forcing him to respond to the rumors. On December 10, 2012, Rick Ross addressed everything in a radio station interview. He explained why the tour was canceled and insisted it wasn't because of any threats from the GDs.
The rest of the tour due to the promoter wasn't really handling his business, you know what I'm saying? He canceled a date of mine. I was going to Tucson, Arizona. There was some power that I needed to take away from homie, so I canceled the rest of the dates. And never was it due to any threats. You know, I'm a certified man. I am a real boss. Never get it twisted. Ricky Rose is a boss. I'm certified worldwide. I could put 1,000 gangsters in any hood. Pull up the footage of me walking out in Chicago on the stage with the chinchilla dragging on the floor. You let me know if that's the swagger of somebody that's in fear of their life.
Ross stood his ground, defending his reputation like a man. But what do you think? Did he cancel the tour because of the GDs, or was it just a coincidence? Before you decide, let's dive into the next incident that might shape your opinion. January 27, 2013 was Rick Ross's 37th birthday. He headed out to Brickell, Miami to celebrate. After a joyous night, he drove home in his Rolls Royce with a woman named Shateria. At 4:42 a.m., while driving through Fort Lauderdale to his beachfront mansion, a car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down, and shots were fired at Ross's car. Ross punched the gas, speeding down Los Olas Boulevard. After creating some distance, he made a sharp right onto 15th Avenue, losing control of the Rolls Royce and crashing into a nearby apartment building.
A drive-by shooting on Los Olas, a gunman, police say, aiming at rapper Rick Ross. The 911 calls just released.
Oh my God, they're turning around and coming back. Okay, I'm hanging up. I'm hanging up. Bye.
Callers hiding, Rick Ross trying to get away, ramming his Rolls Royce into a nearby apartment building.
Fortunately, both Rick Ross and Shateria were okay. However, this was a terrifying incident for the Teflon Don. The Fort Lauderdale police were concerned and approached Ross for details, but he refused to make any statements. The case remains unsolved, leaving everyone to speculate. Was it the gangster disciples making a point, local Miami beef, or just a random attack? Given the timing, many online speculated it was the GDs. This rumor gained traction when in a 2016 testimony, an Atlanta GD named Markel White made some shocking statements. He told the courts that after the incident, Rick Ross agreed to pay the GDs $6 million to get off his trail. However, he clarified that the final payment was $3 million from Rick Ross to the Atlanta GDs. He didn't specify who exactly got the money, but we can imagine who it was.
Mr. White, did you ever learn from any of the gangster disciples whether or not anything ever happened as a result of those videos directed at Rick Ross? From my understanding, he ended up paying like $3 million.
It's totally understandable why Rick Ross would want to make peace with the gangster disciples. These guys are known to be one of the most ruthless gangs out there. Although they started with peaceful intentions, beef wasn't really their style, especially for the region leader of Georgia, Governor Alonzo Walton, who was more focused on staying low-key and raking in millions with his brothers. For about 3 years, the GDs were running the streets in every illegal way you can think of. They were swiping credit cards, moving weight, and hitting licks when necessary. Once they made their money, they'd bring it back to Alonzo's safe house in South Atlanta. This spot was their hub where members would meet up, discuss business, and lay low when things got too hot. Everything went smoothly for the first few years. No members got arrested, and there were no violent incidents. But as with any story involving gangs, peace didn't last forever. A tragic incident happened when 28-year-old Alfonso J. Rock Watkins from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 24-year-old Harvey Rux Hogans, a native of Brooklyn, New York, and 29-year-old Derek Kemp robbed and Derek Gray, a 22-year-old local from Marietta. This incident marked the first major tragedy caused by the GDs in the Atlanta area. Alonzo Walton, the governor, was far from pleased. Concerned about the potential fallout, Alonzo consulted with the national chairman about appointing a chief enforcer for Georgia. With the GDs growing rapidly, he couldn't afford more risky incidents. Members needed to fear making such costly mistakes. The chairman agreed, and Alonzo appointed Donald Glass, aka Smurf, as the chief enforcer for Georgia. Smurf, a local GD from Lithonia, Georgia, had a reputation for being dangerously loyal. Once appointed, he formed his own enforcement crew known as the Hate Committee, whose sole purpose was to discipline out-of-line members. If an Atlanta GD member stepped out of line, Smurf would send the Hate Committee after them. However, Smurf wasn't the only chief enforcer in Atlanta. Kevin Clayton, aka OGKK, also held the title, but things would only get worse as they started beefing with the Atlanta Bloods. Everything kicked off on February 16, 2013. OGKK was feeling like the man in the streets after going viral with the Rick Ross drama. On this day, he was shooting a music video in one of Atlanta's most notorious neighborhoods, the Shell Station on Hollowell Parkway, also known as The Bluff. He was there with Smurf and committee members Shanti Craig and Lewis Mobley. While recording the video, a man in a red jacket jumped in front of the camera, taunting the disciples and repeatedly yelling, "Black," an acronym for Blood Love All the Time. The GDs were not feeling the love. OGKK was furious and looked over at Lewis Mobley to control the situation. Allegedly, Mobley whipped out his gun in front of everyone and shot the man. The victim, Jermaine Higgins, was rushed to Grady Hospital and survived. Fast forward to March 2014, and OGKK and Smurf were still furious about the incident at the gas station. Even though they handled it, they still felt like no GD should ever be disrespected. They went on spree of the Bloods. The gangster disciples and the Bloods were now fully beefing in the streets of Atlanta. Things just got worse and worse with the violence. But on the bright side, the police and district attorneys did their best to put people away for a long, long time. In this case, pretty much everyone in the indictment got over 15 years in prison. But circling back to Rick Ross and Drake, some people are saying the attack on Ross was the wrong move because this could affect Drake. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below and we'll catch you in the next video.